6. Suggest we begin. We usually start with citizen comments.
Okay, I have 3 things I'd like to bring up. First of all, I want it noted that I object to being videotaped by a board member during this meeting. I am aware that it is for his personal use only, as it has neither been requested by nor voted for by the Park District Board of Commissioners, and there are written minutes on audio
So noted.
Okay. Number 2, I never got the answer, President Brennan, to my question on December 10th, when I emailed you and you asked who specifically would be paying for damages to the tennis courts from the pods that were clearly scraped across the surface. I have pictures taken before the pods were delivered that morning as well as after delivery, several hours later, where damage was quite obvious. As I said in my email a month ago, I feel as a concerned resident I deserve an answer. And I'd like one tonight. And my third thing is, on November 12th, 2015, 4 board members agreed to sign a commissioner code of conduct. 1 did not. There are 4 consistent voting members on this board that make decisions about our tax dollars and use our parks and facilities, and the use of our parks and facilities. Discussions take place concerning these decisions. The purpose of that signature is an affirmation to fellow board members to behave ethically. I think the leadership of this board should revisit this issue and work to get a unanimous consent. That's it. Thank you.
Other citizen comments?
Yes. I also object to the videotape. You guys have discussed audio tape. You did it the democratic way. The videotape, he is very unprofessional. He's not listening to the board. As you guys as the board, I'm very disappointed that you cannot control the commissioner. You could discipline him. You could have him impeach, whatever you need to do to let him follow. Because as a citizen, I come to the meeting and I give you guys respect. He's not showing respect to the citizen that voted him in to manage this park. That is very unprofessional, childish, and disrespectful. Also, you have a lawyer. I say, utilize the lawyer. He said last time he would come back and let us know about the video issue. Like I said, if I have to sue the Park District for him videotaping, I will. We all gonna hurt because we all pay taxes. And he's selfish in that manner. My comment is, last year, the soccer, indoor soccer thing was put on the field. It damaged the field. We were not budgeted for that. We already short budgeted. We had to go and repair that field. I want to show the commissioners the damage that this does to the field. It's an indoor soccer equipment. This park was designed for green space so that kids could have a green space to run wide open, not to be encaged like animals in an indoor soccer field. If you look at Ridgeville history, we saved these parks so we could have a wide open green space like Central Park. You don't see Central Park putting an indoor fence in it. It's open so you can relax, you can do whatever. I love to see the park utilized. But with this soccer field, it takes half the park away. It doesn't make sense. It's great for the dogs to go in there and the owners to put their dogs in there and they could poop. But what does it do for the kids? Soccer is meant to be played in an open field. It's hot. I was a soccer coach for for the community. People hide in there, we don't know. You walking past, you don't know who could jump out from behind those walls. It's a safety issue. The park is not lit enough to have that. And here's some pictures. I didn't have a chance to print them out. These are the stuff we had to repair. First, we had to put the seats back down. We had to fence it off so the birds don't eat it.
Wait, can you bring it back?
This is part of the repair.
Okay.
We had to fence it off again, which also limit the park use, because now you gotta repair it and fence that area off. And this was the damage before, after the net comes out. Because they play in one spot, they just wear the grass down. It leaves the lines.
That's a goal, right?
Yeah, it's a goal. The area, they throw water bottles in there. This is before, this is damage after it's taken now. You got holes from the pegs. So I'm saying, why are we doing unuseful stuff that doesn't really benefit anyone? I mean, if it benefits the kids, great, but it's not benefiting the kids. It's getting less use of the park. The purpose of the park is to use it. Not to put something there that doesn't make sense. Those things cost what, $35,000? They could donate that $35,000 and we could have a better activity. That's it for me today.
Thank you. Other citizen comments?
I would also like to reiterate that I do not appreciate the film for videotaping by one again. I did send an email, I don't know if everybody got that. I sent it to the addresses in the, on the website. I don't know if Rob was like, he got it. Somebody got it, but my number. The reason that I object primarily is I understand the meeting is audio taped and there's meeting minutes made to have a record of the meeting. I'm very well aware of records. I'm a records manager by profession, so the objection to somebody using their own personal equipment is then he takes it home with him, and I have no idea what he does with that. That film or whatever could be edited, modified, and I can only assume it's for his own personal purposes, whatever those might be, and not for the good of the original purpose. The meeting minutes that are taken by Rita or the ones that are audio recorded are maintained by the park district and nobody can change them with a permanent record. What happens to what Dan does, I have no idea. This makes me feel very uncomfortable. I just don't think there's any reason for it, and I think that it shouldn't be done. If you want to be welcoming and inclusive of citizens to comment and participate, that is certainly not consistent with having somebody do that.
Thank you.
Lastly, I'm just here to talk about the plans for the garden, which I believe is on the agenda for a little bit later.
So it is. Very well. Moving along to minutes for the December 8th meeting.
Excuse me, do I get an answer to my question?
Not right now.
When?
Seriously?
As I've explained, citizen comments are for citizen comments.
It wasn't a comment, it was a question.
Perhaps I should reiterate it in Espanol in case you didn't understand.
Oh, you are so inviting and kind.
Moving along to approval of minutes for December 8th, 2016.
So move to approve the minutes as written. Thank you, Rita.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Very long, well, moving along to approval of bills.
I'll go down the unusuals. First of all, ADP is 3 months of bills. ASCAP is the company we have to pay to play music here year-round. It's a annual fee based on population. Berkson Products, our annual giveaways. We bought some Ziploc backpack bags for the kids to give away. Kate Burma is a refund. She overpaid. Carbonite, backup for the office computer. Gabrielle is the supplies for the year for garden to table cooking portion. Chicago Tribune was legal notice. As we go down, Jewel Foods was winter camp. We did fruit one day instead of the normal snacks. You'll see a few restaurants on here too. They were also the holiday lunch we had on December, I want to say 19th. Sam's Club was a variety of winter camp and supplies. Sunrise Tree, we had a big branch fall right here next to the flagpole. We had to take that out. And WUFU is the online annual fee for camp and class registrations.
I move that we accept the January 12 corporate monthly bill summary as written at the amount of $14,353.86.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brian, do you have an extra copy? I didn't get it in my packet.
Sure, you can have some.
Got one?
Petty cash?
Petty cash, we have 4. City of Evanston is a monthly fee for the water permit to flood the rink. M&A Plumbing, we had to test the RPZ valve. We do that annually in November, early December. ADA's a reimbursement for a mini ladder step stool we bought for the offices and classes. And RUB is part of the holiday lunch for the people who wanted brisket.
How is it?
It's not bad.
I move to accept the January 11 petty cash monthly bill summary in the amount of $440.11.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Very well, moving along to monthly reports.
Just a quick suggestion, I'll do mine, and then maybe I'll do Natalie's, and we can go right into the garden issue. Is that okay? So she can
Sure.
not be here all night.
That sounds great. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, so my report. Ice rink is up and open. We've had great fluctuations in weather, 40s to below zero, but so far so good on the usage. Luis Mendoza and Kevin Williams have been working the warming house when the ice has been skatable. Garden to tables on the agenda to talk about potential short-term change in the program. It's in Natalie's report. Camp registration started January 4th, going very, very well. We also concluded winter camp on January 6th. We averaged about 16 kids a day, which was really good. Again, V directed that camp along with counselors Wesley Shavers and Brian Richards. They did a great job. And we're going to post summer jobs by the end of this month and start interviewing February, March for summer positions that will open.
Brian, thank you. For anyone interested in applying for the job, can they do it in different ways?
You can do it online, can walk in, either way.
Great, thank you.
Natalie's report?
Natalie's report.
As submitted by Natalie Salih. YouTube channel is up and working. There's a link on the website to direct people to the channel. Additionally, she's cleaning up the website, doing a great job on that. She concurred on winter camp, was a success with V and Wesley and Brian. Spring camp and STEAM and summer camps are all up on registration on the website. Many parents have come in the office or phoned her. She's very happy to, she's very interested in learning more about summer camps and participating because of the good things she's heard. Winter classes are up and going. So far, so good. Kids' classes taught by Laura Downing are filling up as expected. Enrollment in adult classes looks good, particularly new class Spanish for beginners. And the sampler cards are selling pretty good. If you don't know what the sampler card is, you get 8 or 10 classes for a discount fee. You come to any class you want. She's also going to participate in community-wide read. We are hosting a book discussion from the Evanston Library Community-Wide Read in March. She's agreed to be a part of the read. She's got to read the book before March and lead the discussion here at Ridgeville. Garden to Table, we're offering a workshop series, which is up on the website. It's $25 for individual workshops that are different, each workshop. Amy Dale of Reed Edens will lead those. They're on Monday evenings. You should check it out if you can. And then the Ridgeville Garden proposal. It's Natalie's recommendation that we approve this proposal to rent Ridgeville Gardens right out back here at 908 Seward for the 2017 season. The 32-week commitment of Garden to Table program has proved too much for our previous instructors and students. She feels that this new group will allow the garden to thrive under care of qualified and passionate group of gardeners. They are Garden to Table alums, Sandra being one of them. This will also give her the opportunity to spend more time and figure out what to do with Garden to Table in the upcoming future. And as you look at the proposal, some of the food will go through Edible Evanston to people who need it. We're going to use a couple plots for other classes and collect a nice rental fee. So that's our report.
I so move to accept it.
Thank you, Dan. We have actually a piece of business in that regard that touches directly on it, to which, Brian, it may be useful for us to move. So, Sandra, you mentioned wishing to present on use of the garden?
Well, I just wanted to be here to answer any questions that you may have in regards to the proposal. I also brought printed out pictures, the Instagram feed for the past 2 years. If anyone has any doubts about what has been grown or what we've done out there. I've been with this garden since the very beginning in 2013. So I've been here managing this garden since spring. She was a Garden to Table participant this past year as well. So she and I are kind of heading up the charge, and we just want to grow lovely things. We will provide foods for any cooking classes Ridgeville decides to have. And as Brian mentioned, we are very much interested in donating a good portion of it to the food pantries through the Edible Evanston program.
Okay.
How many members are there?
In terms of garden group, we're aiming to have 6. So we reached out to, we have 3. It's myself, Nancy, and another woman named Alexa, who's also a Garden to Table participant this past year. And we are reaching out to a few other Garden to Table former participants to join us as well.
So those are the total number of people within the garden group are 6?
Correct.
So can anybody join? I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, if you know somebody who wants to participate, we would love to meet them. What we're looking for are people who are really dedicated. It's not so much about knowledge or skill with gardening, it's willing to be dedicated for the entire season and to be there and to do the work. Because it is quite a lot of work to start all the seeds in spring and plant and propagate and maintain in the summer. We want to make full use of the garden we grow as much as we possibly can from spring all the way through fall. So, if somebody's only interested in, coming once a month, we're looking for people who really want to be there, a couple hours a week and really put in work.
Sounds like it has to be someone who really, really loves it.
Right, and we really, really love it,
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a beautiful
yeah.
space, things grow amazingly well. We want to keep it looking, and the reason we want to do it as a group versus say, renting individual beds, for consistency of appearance, quality, making sure that everything is done well, that it's planned well, that it's maintained well, and that it's as productive as it possibly can be.
Well, if the food tastes anything like the pictures, oh my goodness.
It tastes
I wish you
better.
would have come to our help. We keep inviting the board, and it never worked out for you guys to come tonight. Yeah, I mean, you know, nothing tastes better than homegrown.
If I get a second on my motion, I'd like to discuss it a little bit.
Do I have a second?
Wait, do we need a motion? Do we need
I'm-
to accept the report? I don't think we've ever done that before.
That's a very good point, Rita. This is pretty much informational as it's.
I thought I heard we needed a motion. I'm sorry.
No, it's a matter of programming as
Right.
I see it.
Oh,
We just want to inform you,
Yeah.
and if there's an issue, let us know, otherwise we're moving forward.
you don't need our approval then.
It's a programming thing.
Unless there's a major issue. There is no major issue.
In that case, I would like to remove my motion. I thought we needed one. But I would like to state for the record that my experience with the Garden to Table, it's a phenomenal community organization that has brought people as young as just post-conception in the womb to people in their 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
And my experience has been that during the gardening, neighbors who've been living next to each other or near each other for decades, never met before.
Is it a time for discussion? I thought,
A point
No,
of
but we
order.
look forward to hearing from you at the end of the meeting. We have another public comments then.
I thought that part was over with, we're gonna move forward.
Yes, at our leisure. Excuse us. Please continue.
Yeah, this is our commissioner meeting, so that's why we're discussing this. But, Mr. President, I just want to say for the board and for the record that my experience is that over the last few years, it's brought together people of all ages and backgrounds and religions, and it's just been a real community magnet here, including people who aren't gardening, but they want to just visit to look at the flowers or the plants. And I have found it to be a community magnet that has benefited many, many people, and it's been a good education, and it's brought a lot of good food to people over the last 3 years. So I think it's a very creative idea on how to move forward on the garden now that we're not going to have a formal class.
I agree. I'm glad to see that you and Natalie were able to reach suitable arrangements for the use of a piece of our property that's been significantly improved by the experience.
Good job.
Moving along to Capital Improvements Committee
I'd like
report.
to ask a couple more questions.
Sure.
I guess I'm a little concerned with only 6 people involved. I mean, you know, the comments I just heard that, you know, there's hundreds of people involved, but there's 6. So are we just
there-
renting the space to 6 people basically?
Yes, there are different levels of engagement. I was a teacher at Garden to Table this year, and we had about 18 people sign up at the beginning of the program, but on any given week, maybe we only had 8 people show up. Sometimes it was 5 people show up every week. So as the season went on, fewer and fewer participants were consistently coming to the class. So at any given time, there really weren't that many gardeners participating in the class. And my concern for the space simply is that it be used. And I know Dr. Drennan has a vision for a larger community garden club type thing. There are many, Natalie has some ideas. This is an interim solution that we're offering to you to ensure that the garden remains the beautiful showpiece that it is, that it's productive. And for what we lack in engaging gardeners in the garden, I hope you would see it as that we're making up for it by providing food pantries and engaging residents in that way. Residents in that way. And to Dan's point, that garden, it's open, people walk through it all the time. People would stop by, comment on it, I'd give them a tomato or something, and they're thrilled to buy that. To not have that happen this year, to have that space just go to waste or, not be as used as well as it can be, I think would be a real shame.
So are
So-
people invited to come in
The
and?
gates are open, anybody can walk through at any time, and they often do. I mean, I have people come by and go, oh, I stop by here and I walk every morning. I love it so much, it's so beautiful. So, we're offering an opportunity for Ridgefield to make income by us paying a rental fee, and for us to ensure that your garden is being used and lovely and beautiful and productive, and it's benefiting people who need good food in this community. If for some reason you feel like that's not an appropriate use of the garden, we would certainly respect your decision, but it is something that we are offering to Ridgeville for this year.
So there's 6 of you and you're gonna pay $1,100 to Ridgeville, just so I understand.
Yes.
And then the 6 other people are gonna pay $250?
So we will all split that $1,100 rental fee and pay it collectively. We had a meeting with Brian, we'll sign the rental agreements and the liability waivers, and just like renting plots at Elks Park or anywhere else. And ensure that you have a lovely, beautiful garden for the community to admire and feed people. That's really our priority.
But other people, it's not just exclusive to 6 people. Other people can participate if they want to, just like other people could participate in the garden table. Is that correct?
No, we would limit it to a small group of gardeners. So like I said, if you announce it on your Facebook page or open it up to the community, hey, the garden group, just like you would only register so many people for garden to table, there's a cutoff for registration for any class. The cutoff we're proposing is 6, simply because we found a lot can get done with a relatively small group, and there are 12 beds, 13 but 1 is strawberries, and we would each kind of very carefully, closely monitor and take care of 2 beds apiece plus part of the perimeter, so that's kind of how we got to 6. And again, we're looking for people who are really dedicated, who want to do the work, who want to be out there when it's 95 degrees and pruning tomatoes and everything else. So the more people there are, the less gets done almost, you know, when you have a large group.
Given the qualifications of the people involved and the high profile of the site, and that it's essentially for this year, it seemed an attractive option
We're offering to rent.
to provide Natalie the time to craft the next step for the garden table program. It is a public space, and it's meant for public use and public enjoyment. At this point, the public, at least a limited portion of it, is using it. And in the long term, we will now have time to consider next steps.
It's going to sit empty if we don't rent it. I mean, it's not going to get used, and that would be a shame. So we think the best thing to do is rent it to Sandra and her group for the year, and then there'll be plenty of produce go through Edible Evanston to people in need. And we're going to save a couple plots for classes and Amy Dale's workshops.
I do want to say too, that if you're ever open to any volunteer labor, if you need some help, I know people in the community that have appreciated the last 3 years of the gardening program, and they love to volunteer.
Yeah, and if anybody in the community ever wanted to meet us out there and spend some time gardening, we definitely wouldn't say no.
Okay.
You know? I did speak to Amy. Her plan is to run it entirely as classroom time. She said, I asked her, what do you need out of the garden? And she said, no, just classroom only. So, but certainly you mentioned camps would want to grow something out there in the summer. We're totally fine with that. You know, we can be really flexible. Again, my only priority is to make sure that the space gets used, that it's beautiful, productive, and it serves people in need in the community.
I guess I'm okay with it being used. I just want to be sure that it's not the exclusive use of 6 people. And that it's open to everybody to use and to enjoy and to participate if they want to. I know this is a short-term,
I mean,
you know,
I think that's a broad statement. Again, we would certainly not deny anybody the opportunity to come garden with us. If somebody wanted to come and dig up our stuff and plant something
well,
else.
that.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's different, so.
No, I mean, obviously, you're going to control it.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody that has not identified themselves yet that wants to participate, you know, this is a public building, this is a public.
Absolutely. So you want to put out a notice that we're looking for gardeners to join the group?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that. I mean, you know, that would be fine.
I have a question. Are you saying you're closing down the garden this year? Which garden is this? Is this at Elks Park?
No, right outside.
Oh, I'm totally confused. Because-
Right out here.
Yeah, not our garden.
Oh, okay, because you're just saying garden.
No, you'll get your contract next week.
Right.
Oh, okay. I was confused.
Right, exactly.
Go for it.
That would.
I think they can, yeah.
Oh, okay, because we also donate to another Evanston,
It's same program. So
Oh,
I'm the ambassador for Edible Evanston at Elks Park. I'm pot 6 or pot 5.
yeah.
And so I would time it so that the donations from Ridgeville and Elks go to the same pantry in the same way.
Okay, because I gave it to Christine and then she,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along to Capital Improvements Committee report.
Jerry's report.
Oh, Jerry. I'm sorry, Jerry.
I know, everybody's favorite topic, numbers.
Got me on that.
I distributed at the beginning of the meeting a little packet of 4 reports on 3 sheets of paper. I guess it is on 4 sheets of paper. First one I'll talk about is the outstandings report. This would be the list of transactions that have not cleared. The ones captioned A and C have been approved by you as the board, but have not cleared our bank accounts, so something has gone awry in the processing. We've got about $1,800 worth of those in the corporate account. C200 is the corporate account, C204 is petty cash, C208 is the payroll account. Next section on the report, about $1,000 worth of cleared not approved items, CNA. That means that these have cleared our bank accounts, but that they have not come before you for approval. You can see a lot of them are from the month of December. After December's meeting, that would be fairly typical. I'm not concerned about those. Most of those I think we would find have been approved in tonight's bills, and so they'll self-resolve. The items on the report that are more than 60 days old are the ones that I'm concerned with. There's work that has to be done by
Jerry, excuse me,
Anna in the
did
office.
you both sign in, or did
Well, I
you?
did, yes.
Did you both sign in too? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Sorry.
Thank you, Santa.
So just periodically, I have to give you an update of where we're standing on our outstandings. Eventually, some of these may come up as board motions to write off because we always can't figure out what to do with them.
And Jerry, if I can ask for clarification, your concern is that just something you're watching, you're not
Right.
concerned that there's a problem?
Right.
Okay.
We don't want them to let us, I mean, some of these, there's only a couple of them. Like the AA Moly goes back for years. We know what that is. We just haven't gotten to a step in the process we can write that one out. That bank card item for $29.60, that's been sitting open since 2014. That really should have been written off a while ago now, so I'll be kind of working with Anna and Brian to either resolve that or get it off the list by having you write it off. We really don't like to see these sit beyond the current fiscal year.
What's up with the July expenses? You got City of Evanston, you've got ComEd, several others that were approved not cleared?
Yeah. And they were, don't know at this point. Anna's gonna have to do a little digging and figure out what happened. There's
Generally, it's
some type of a processing error.
twice. Generally, it was approved twice. Like, let's say it was a ComEd bill, and we approved it in October, and then the bill somehow, Anna put it back in November, so we approved it twice. So it was approved, but not, what's the, approved, not cleared?
Right. And some of them can be.
So the
errors.
second
That's what
time,
the Commonwealth
it's
Edison-
never gonna clear, because it's electronically paid once. So, stuff like that happens.
Yeah, she put it on her reports to have you vote on it twice, but only paid it once, because there was only
Right.
one invoice. That was a screw
That's
up on her
usually what
part.
it is.
In other cases, where they're checks, it's people have lost their checks, or it got lost in the mail getting to them, and we may have to reissue checks to them. She's got to hunt that type of stuff down. The example there, you got Commonwealth Edison on here on both sides for different amounts. So she asked you to approve it for $1 amount, but she actually paid it for a different dollar amount when she put it through the system online. So why did that happen? Don't know. She'll have to research and figure out what happened. The ones from July 1st, more than likely, are carryovers from the prior fiscal year. I can't bring things in with the prior year's date. I had to bring it in with July 1 date. So you got a couple of checks from last year that haven't cleared. Like I said, a bank card item's been sitting there for 2 years, but the mid-month ones are just for whatever reason, processing things that have to be hunted down.
Gotcha.
Believe it or not, especially in the summer, high school, young college kids get paid.
Yes.
They go home with their check, they put it on their dresser or whatever, and they forget all about it. I went right to the bank, but I was their age. I got my cash.
I just wish everybody would get paid electronically because it makes my job a lot.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the appropriations ledger. We're about the halfway point of the year. Kind of semi-arbitrarily, but kind of with a little logic to it. Our utilization should be sitting at about 46% of the budget at this point. On the corporate account, on the corporate fund, we're sitting at 47%, just a little over budget, but not enough to really concern me at this stage. It looks like we're doing really, really well on the recreation fund until you understand that's a bit deceptive because we have not spent the grant funded RA 58, the $79,000 there that's intended to be a CDBG match. So if you kind of take that out and recalculate the numbers, we're actually running at about 47% utilization on the recreation fund, similar to the corporate account, kind of right about where we want to be, maybe a little on the strong side. And overall, instead of 43%, we're at 48%. So we're doing pretty good for where we're at in the year.
Being 6 months through the fiscal year, that's about where we should be.
Yep,
One thing about recreation,
we're managing the budget. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
we're going to have a couple slow months, and then we're going to have a couple busy months
Right, exactly.
in terms of money spent.
Yep. And that kind of, we started the year with a couple of strong months,
Right.
with some leftover summer, then we went into some slow months that allowed us to kind of catch up on the budget months. The one thing I don't know if I said last month when I handed this out, and I had mentioned that I had reformatted some of the reports a little bit. It's the same accounts. They used to be in account number order down this report between the funds. I rearranged them more by type of expenditure. So you have all the salary items clumped together in one group. You have all the benefits, all the services, all the facilities related expenses to maybe help you see by category how we're doing in some of these areas. Just at a glance, and then maybe I'll play with subtotaling it at those levels at some point. But that was a little revision I made to start out this fiscal year, was to just change the form of the order a bit for that logical reason. The balance sheet report, that this is kind of simulating one of the pages in the annual report. I don't really have any comment on that, other than to say that there you go, you got it. The older format of it is also still in your packet as the trial balance. It's a little more detailed by account version of the same numbers. Again, no comment. The backside of that is your statement of revenue and appropriations. What I'll highlight there is if you go to the bottom line, revenue over appropriations, you'll see that, kind of from the appropriations budgeting standpoint, we're doing pretty good. From more of a kind of cash flow look at things, how's the revenue doing relative to what we're spending? We've spent about $54,000 more than we've brought in revenue so far. That's partly just timing. We're at the point in the year where we haven't received, we won't be getting some of the tax revenue until we get into the February-March frame. So
We did about 30 grand last week, camps.
So that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you, Jerry. Moving along to capital improvements. Do we have any items for Lighter Park? Do we have any items for the art studio? Moving along to old business. We have Evanston Fire Victim Response.
Yeah, it's me. Just wanted to take a few minutes to just chronicle just the happenings since December the 4th and just how we responded. This was real people getting their homes taken away from them through fire. So Dan has a clip.
It won't be available, unfortunately. We lost our internet connection, Brian.
very
I don't know
good.
why, but that's all right.
Okay.
I saw it.
Long and short of it is, the facts is that December the 4th, there was a fire at Sherman and Reba. Ridgeville Park District families, actually 17 people lost their homes and many of their belongings. They did all locate temporary housing for these folks. They can all return to their homes after renovation. We responded with the community, and I just wanted to thank the board. for doing that, for letting them keep the pods there. I knew one of the people who takes care of the buildings, Paul. He heard the fire alarm go off, and he knew something was wrong. He was telling me the story, and he acted pretty quickly. And because of his quick action, there were 2 people sleeping, and I found out later in the home, and 2 people were saved. 2 people were sleeping, and so no lives lost. Evanston Fire Department, Evanston Police Department acted very quickly along with Red Cross. Some property damage, but no harm near anyone, and I think that's worth mentioning. Ridgeville Park District provided space for 6 storage pods, allowing 6 families to utilize. 3 are now empty. Just want to give an update on that. And the others will be moved to storage buildings over the next few weeks. People who were involved, or actually organizations that were involved, including churches and park districts, Beth Emmet, St. Nick's, Grace Lutheran, JRC, Unitarian Church, Second Baptist, City of Evanston, Reba Place Church, and over 200 people donated and assisted to these families in need. They raised over $12,000 for the families. Evanston is a great place, indeed a wonderful community, and exemplifies compassionate service. The families want to thank Ridgeville Park District and let them know how grateful they are for the help, and wants the thanks to go all around. And in terms of the basketball court, I haven't seen any of the damage. I know we had some cracks in the court before, but I'd like to take a look at that. But the families here are very grateful, and I just want to say job well done, Ridgeville. Thank you, Brian, and thank you everyone who was involved with that.
Do you know who's going to repair the damage? Has that been discussed?
I couldn't hear, sorry,
Do you know
Commissioner.
who's going to repair the damage when they're moved?
What damage?
There's some damage on the court.
I've observed it, I didn't see any damage. Brian, you came that day.
I saw some scratches. I haven't been out since they've been on.
They haven't moved.
At this point, we know no one's been playing basketball on it, so we can assume the damage isn't from basketball. We also know we have storage lockers there, at least until February. I suggest we go back and look at the space again then.
What does the indemnification agreement say?
The indemnification agreement was mainly to hold harmless on physical injuries or threats to life and limb.
Okay.
So I think it's more a matter of approaching Reba. It's not like they're going anywhere. They're as invested in this community, more perhaps. And so, as a partner, I feel confident over time that anything superficial on the courts we can address. And plan to, really.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have 2 new pieces of business, including, and we've already discussed one, garden to table class changes. Just to perhaps provide a bridge into the open space scorecard by the city, which if you haven't reviewed it, I highly recommend. It's excellent reading, really well organized, comprehensive. It's difficult to really sort of keep all of those parts in mind. We've got some great open space in this city. And gardening, or I should say natural areas, are a part of that. So it was nice that we had a chance to discuss garden to table. People seem to desire that space. They seem to really want that space. But I'm interested in hearing your impressions of the report, especially as they impact Ridgeville. So I've got a few points of my own, but perhaps we could start, walk around, get initial impressions, suggestions.
I didn't read it.
Okay. Rob, have you had a chance to review it?
Yeah, it was interesting to me in comparing some of the park spaces that the city has, because they have different amenities. So I wanted to make sure that I understood that we're just talking about mainly the green spaces and not places with basketball courts, and, you know, some parks have everything. So are we talking about playground equipment? Are we talking about, so I was a little confused by some of the scoring. So,
The report seemed to cover all aspects.
All
And has actually several, it's a list of over almost a dozen feature areas. So it's athletic fields,
Right.
courts, playgrounds, trails and paths, seating areas, passive green spaces, beaches, restrooms, drinking fountains, parking lots, natural areas. So, response, yes, actually, it does seem to cover all of those elements in some way or another.
and our average score for Ridgeville, if we were to take that out, you know, it's 118 parks covered. But what was, our average score is about, what, 75, 6, 7, something like, somewhere in there, Brian? Maybe a 77 or something like that?
C or above, yeah.
C or above,
Reba was the lowest.
right.
And,
Brummel Park was highest,
yeah,
Reba was lowest, Ridgeville was at 75.
Yeah.
75, right. So we had an average of about, what, 75, which means we could use some improvements.
It's basically the same as the city's average.
The city can definitely use some improvements in around the other parks.
Yeah, I had a chance to read the report and also listen to the live presentation at City Hall when these consultants presented this report. And I found it to be very enlightening and helpful, and I think it will help us in particular as commissioners to plan ahead as we go forward in trying to improve our parks. This will give us some baseline to work from, and I think then we can measure as we make changes. I don't know if there's a plan for the consultants to come back 10 years from now, but if somebody does, it'll be interesting to see
Right.
how we've improved or not.
One of the recommendations falling out of the report was to visit these topics again and again as they're addressed. Public amenities seemed a particular point of interest for residents, really a point of concern. Their presence, but more so their condition. There was also a point, 2 points really, that are seemingly administrative, but I think would prove very useful, especially for Ridgeville in the long term. One of those would be the consideration of shared use agreements and/or automated scheduling tools, so that residents had an understanding of available space in Evanston in its entirety. I would recommend in the long term that we look forward to partnering with the city and Lighthouse District, as well as the school districts, in entertaining just such a tool. There was also the suggestion of field maintenance, especially in regard to athletic fields, to provide them rest so that they could continue performing to par. One challenge in using parks again and again and again, year over year, is you wear them out. You wear out the grass, you wear out the soil, and it takes those elements time to recover. A shared use agreement and some kind of scheduling tool would help identify areas in the city folks could use, as well as areas that were perhaps in that regard under repair. So again, I would recommend that we keep our eyes open and to perhaps consider on our own such a program of resting fields that require repair.
Rotating usage, so fields don't get compacted and then therefore get hard and grass doesn't grow. That's why we aerate every spring and fall as much as possible.
Go ahead.
That's basically it. So, for instance, if you wear out, let's just say, Cayman West with constant soccer, spring and fall, I mean, probably a fall you should say, or we should say, no, we're going to aerate it and let it recover. Aerate it more than once. Otherwise, the big problem with overuse is compaction. And once you compact the field, meaning it just gets harder and harder and harder. Root system
Dies out.
dies out. And then doesn't get deep enough, and then you get a bald spot, it takes forever to come back.
Yeah.
So,
Other points include, and I brought those up, the natural areas that folks seem to like and want more of, but as well a question of signage and how signage is used and standardized. I feel pretty good about the identification on our parks. The city has some variety in how it identifies parks. The Lakota group does suggest that we may benefit from developing standards in terms of signage, and at least every park has an entrance sign. They also note that many other communities post rules and sometimes hours in their signage. I especially like the point about rules because it reminds people of conduct. It reminds people of times for safe play. And I think it's a point we can address on our own without having to wait for the city.
I have one observation on the report,
Please.
and that is, throughout the city, including Ridgeville Park District's facilities, the parks that had scored the lowest were the smallest parks in the city. I think I said that last month. Little postage stamps at the corner, you know, they don't have a playground, they don't have enough seating or whatever, they get bad grades. I mean, it is what it is. Riva has a set of circumstances where there's really no grass or heavy shade and old equipment on one side and newer equipment, so it's something to look at in the future, in the next budget or so to plan on what to do with parks with low scores. And it's printed in the report too that the scorecard is intended to help guide capital improvements for each existing board or city council.
It helps to note too, the scoring was determined by looking at both features. They parsed it out by features and types. So you have features like the water fountains, like the athletic field, the basketball court, the playground, but then you also had sites which were more geographic in orientation and actually received weighting based on citizen comments. So on the one hand, you had stakeholders suggesting, well, this park has this and that park has that. And on the other hand, you had folks basically sounding off on their favorite parks. And all of that was entered into the equation. So in one regard, it's a nice mix of professional and resident opinion. But for that reason as well, should, in the case of parks like Reba, be perhaps held a little at arm's length.
I felt proud of how Ridgeville Park District has responded the last couple years on one of the areas that were scored the least across the city, including Ridgeville Parks, and that was outdoor bathrooms for people to use. And the last 2 years, we've been creative, I think, in trying to accommodate with the low budget that we have by renting the porta potty here at Ridgeville Park. And that, from what I could gather out of the full evaluation, was one of the biggest issues, the need for restrooms for people to use, and I think we're ahead of the game on that, and I hope that can help us as we look to our future.
Any other comments?
One minor.
Yes.
We graded really well in Cayman West, and if you, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe they said we had a path in Cayman West and we got a good grade. We don't have any paths in Cayman West, so that's just a minor thing.
Excellent. Moving along then, we've addressed garden table class changes.
Question,
Yes, Rita?
is that a consensus of the board then to go along with that, or there wasn't a vote per se on the changes to garden table?
We had a specific motion to discuss and to review the report. We also have capital improvements committees to consider it. It's not we hadn't specific motions in regard to the scorecard.
No, I just mean, does there have to be a vote on the garden table class changes?
No.
Okay, just,
We're
this is
doing-
the proposal.
Just a management decision, right, Brian?
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Got it.
No, I think it's an excellent interim address for an excellent asset. I approached Sandra about leading a Ridgeville gardening club. I think it's a good start in that direction. There are some administrative challenges to addressing all of our parks through a club structure that we need to explore in depth. As regard to the open space scorecard, do keep it in mind for capital improvements. It suggests to me that we're traveling in the right direction with the art studio, and we should, for that reason, dream larger, not smaller. Do we have any other new business we'd like to discuss?
I have a question. Is that appropriate to you?
Certain?
Just for discussion. I say I have a question for discussion. Just in terms of, and this, I'm just curious about this. I haven't done any legwork and looking things up, and this is more for Brian, I guess, and folks who've been around a long time, like Pat. In terms of naming parks or naming specific, I know that there was an incident at Cayman where there was an accident and somebody has a little, rock out there and so on. Just detailing their life and so on, and it's kind of a monument or some kind of memorial for that person. So have we done that in the past, or how have parks been named? And does anybody know? Have we done any naming of
I could guess.
naming of any parks in the last?
Leiter was a greenhouse, am I correct? And I think the Leiter family
Oh, okay.
donated.
I'm just curious.
Cayman was a,
He's a city type guy,
Cayman was, he was-
Okay.
they all named,
It's all happened before any of us.
yeah, they're all named before we
Right,
got here.
in your 25 years here, we haven't renamed a park.
Yeah,
No.
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
No,
Okay.
no.
That's a memorial that was paid for by the Friends of Roger Barlow.
Okay.
And board members
You guys
contributed.
mentioned it, yeah.
But
Okay.
it was a memorial for him.
I think the Elks Park was donated by the Elks Club
Right.
Ah,
way back when.
way back when.
I have one item when we're done with this one to discuss, if we can.
We are open for new business.
Okay. Mine is just a happy note. I'm excited. I understand from the record that we have 3 candidates who are going to be on the ballot on April 4 for the Ridgeville Park District. I believe Michael Drennan and Debbie Braun and Shama Jacover are 3 candidates who are citizens, I believe, here in Ridgeville Park District and want to be considered, when the voters vote on April 4th. And what excites me about that is that we have people who are interested to volunteer to serve a cool district. And I just feel great about that, and I'm also a supporter of democracy. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that good news.
That is good news. Thank you, Dan. I would like to add, as a piece of new business, it's not particularly new, the question of the IAPD Code of Conduct. We had intended to sign it unanimously, and I had intended to address it repeatedly until we did. So I would like to include that to our agenda next month for continuing review, because I think it's important.
Commissioner, do you mind just speaking up a little? I think I lost half of what you said.
I would like to add the IAPD Code of Conduct and its review to new business for next month. We've discussed it repeatedly. It's a topic that really deserves consensus. And if not that, then certainly continuing discussion to perhaps arrive there at some point.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add another, a separate item for new business. As we know, for 5 months, Commissioner Coyne has been filming the Park District, the commissioners, and other members, and the members of the audience. And in pretty much each case, the members of the audience have asked that it not be done. We tried to have a board discussion of this. We had 4 members at that month, and we really didn't have a board consensus as to whether we as a board think that is appropriate for welcoming people to come to our meetings and discuss and bring out ideas.
Perhaps we can explore that in relation to the code of conduct?
I wanted a separate item so we can discuss it and vote on it as a board and make a decision whether we as a board condone that action, basically. We've got a legal opinion that it maybe is constitutional right, but I think we as a board should determine how we feel about it and whether we encourage participation, whether we encourage people to have a voice in our park district. And I think that has not occurred yet. As you know, I made a motion in one meeting, but I couldn't get a second, to ask Commissioner Corn not to do it anymore. Because really, it's just for his benefit. It isn't for anybody else's benefit. It isn't a public record. It isn't, we've got an audio for our meetings that is there for anybody to see. So we're very transparent to whatever people want to see what we do and say. But clearly, this is something that it aggravates citizens, and it doesn't speak well for us as a board not to address it and make a decision whether that's something that's how we feel about it.
For the record, if I could have some input, I do support public discourse, and I would ask us to be careful about misrepresenting the facts. Our board, in fact, had this on the agenda a month or 2 ago with legal counsel, and we were instructed that anyone can record with any device any public meeting that's an open meetings law. Now, I would like to have a better discussion that's calm next month, if I understand your question. I support that discussion, Commissioner McCourt. But what I don't appreciate is any of our commissioners just speaking off the top of their feelings and their thoughts and misrepresenting the facts. We actually had this on the agenda just last month or the month before, and our legal counsel was very clear in the consult that anyone, and I want to make that clear for anyone in our community, any human being who wants to record our open meeting laws may, and there is nothing legally anyone can do to stop that. Now, how to address the feelings that people have about being recorded during an open meeting, that's a different matter. And I'd be happy to talk about that. I've spent my career as a mental health therapist helping people deal with their feelings. But I want to be clear that we are actually following the law by making sure anyone has that right to record any of our meetings.
Perhaps.
And secondly, I want to just clarify too, since you mentioned me personally, everything that I have recorded, I put out to the community in the internet who wants to watch it. And I've gotten feedback from people from our district that live here in Ridgeville who appreciate that type of record and that type of access. In fact, what I'd like to discuss next month, if it's going to be on our agenda, is that hundreds of people who aren't here actually get to review what we do. I'm sorry, we're having a meeting, ma'am. Get to review what we do, and I think that's the advantage of recording and putting it out on YouTube or video through Facebook. So I support the idea of having a discussion, but I think we need to take care and make sure we communicate what actually has happened.
I would support that discussion. Not hearing additional points, simply to say congratulations. I'm seeing now in our Illinois Park Association newsletter, or at least the Risk Services newsletter, we've got 25 years of High Parks. Congratulations. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
No, you didn't have to.
Community comment, public comment.
Public comment, please. Go ahead.
I think you were particularly rude to me. and assistant comments and academic service. Up to you whether you agree, but I think you were particularly rude, President Tran.
Other comments?
Yes, I have a comment. Yes, it is legally to record, but also you have to ask the fact that when they're minor and the parents are asking you not to videotape their minor, that you cannot do that because minors are different from adults. Even in a public school, if you go to a public open meeting and you're videotaping, you have to be careful with minors. And you have to, even the school have to get permission to videotape or put minors on the screen. My son was here, he was a minor. I asked him to stop, he did not stop. You need to respect people's wishes. Sometimes you gotta protect your kids. He's not looking at that point. He's a commissioner. He says he's been working in the mental health field for a long time. Then he should know ethics. And he should know empathy. He shows none. And also, the board needs to look into conflict of interest with him.
Any other comments? Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.